This is class 4 of my arithmetic course. Today we're going to be subtracting whole numbers. So let's get into it. Subtracting whole numbers is much like adding whole numbers in the sense that you line up the numbers vertically. Our first problem is 583 minus 412. So let's line up the numbers vertically. Write your line, and instead of a plus sign, we're going to write a minus sign. Now, like addition of whole numbers, the most important thing is that you line up the numbers in the ones place and the numbers in the tens place and the numbers in the hundreds place and so on. That's the most important thing. As with addition, if you don't line up the numbers when you subtract, your answer is going to be completely wrong. So now we've got the numbers lined up vertically. The ones digits are lined up with each other. The tens digits are lined up with each other. The hundreds and so on. So now we're ready to subtract. So instead of adding, we just subtract. So when we added whole numbers, we started with the ones digits. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. Except instead of adding, we're going to subtract. So 3 minus 2 is 1. Then, again, like addition, we go on to the tens digits. 8 minus 1 is 7. And then we go on to the hundreds digits. 5 minus 4 is 1. The final answer is 171. And be sure to rectangle your final answer. So as you can see, it's not too bad. There are going to be a few other things that are more complicated, but we'll get to those later. So let's try another problem. Again, start by lining up the numbers. And then, again, it's subtraction, so put your subtraction sign. Start with the numbers in the ones place. 5 minus 2 is 3. Then go to the tens places. 3 minus 2 is 1. Then go to the hundreds place. 4 minus 1 is 3. Final answer is 313. All right. So that's pretty much it for the first type of problems. Again, they're going to get a little bit more complicated. But now you try one. Pause the video, try number 3, and then when you're done, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 8,715 minus 7,412. Start with the ones digit. 5 minus 2 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0. 7 minus 4 is 3. 8 minus 7 is 1. Count 3 places over and put your comma. Final solution, final answer is 1,303. And now again, when you do the homework, you got to write your original problem. You have to show your work and rewrite the answer and rectangle the answer. And of course, you have to circle the problem number. You have to do all those things in the homework every time. And I know that you're probably not going to want to do all those things every time, and students have a tendency to forget, but what can I say? The homework's got to be right. It's got to be completely correct and organized. No ifs, ands, or buts. All right? Now, if you didn't get the correct answer, that's okay. We're going to try another one. 56,382 minus 250. Pause the video and see what you can do with that one. And then when you come back, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. Line the numbers up vertically. Start with the ones place value. 2 minus 0 is 2. 8 minus 5 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. 6 minus 0, there's nothing here, right? But we can just put zeros there. Or we can think of them as zeros, but I'd rather you not write the zeros. 6 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 0 is 5. So the final answer is 56,132. All right. If you got the right answer, pat yourself on the back. If you didn't get the right answer, no big deal. We'll try another one. All right. Pause the video and try this one, and when you're done, we'll come back and do it together. All right, we're back. Let's write the numbers vertically. 1 minus 1 is 0. 3 minus 1 is 2. 5 minus 4 is 1. 7 minus 0 is 7. 8 minus 0 is 8. 7 minus 0 is 7. 787,120. Now, if you didn't rewrite the answer and rectangle the answer, you didn't do it correctly. You always got to rewrite the answer and rectangle it. And show all the work, as usual. I'm going to move this down a little bit. All right. On to the next problem. Pause the video. Try this problem, and then when you're done, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. Line up the numbers vertically. Put your subtraction sign. Start with the ones digits. 8 minus 6 is 2. 0 minus 0 is 0. 8 minus 5 is 3. 302. All right. Pause the video, try the next problem, and when you're done, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. Line up the numbers vertically. 2 minus 1 is 1. 9 minus 9 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. 101. All right, let's go on to the next problem. Pause the video, try the problem, and then when you're done, push play and we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 325 minus 304. Line up the numbers vertically, put your subtraction sign. 5 minus 4 is 1. 2 minus 0 is 2. 3 minus 3 is 0. Your final answer for that one is 21. I don't know why the keyboard keeps popping up. I'm going to have to figure out how to stop it from doing that. All right, on to the next problem. Pause the video to attempt this problem, see what you can do. All right, we're back. 47,563 minus 47,312. By the way, I didn't mention that when you're adding numbers, the order doesn't matter. For example, if this was a plus sign, you could write it the other way too. You could put the 47,312 on the top and the 563 on the bottom. If you're adding, it doesn't really matter. You can switch the order. But if you're subtracting, you can't switch the order. The number on the right always has to go on the bottom. I'm sorry I didn't mention that on the first problem. All right. So we start with the ones digits. 3 minus 2 is 1, and 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 minus 3 is 2, 7 minus 7 is 0, 4 minus 4 is 0, so we don't want to put the zeros. Again, we could put the zeros, but 00251 is not really a number. So we can just leave the zeros out. All right. Let's try the next problem. Pause the video. See what you can do, and then when you're done, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. Line up the numbers vertically. Again, if the numbers are not lined up, then you're not going to get the right answer. Start with the ones digits. 5 minus 1 is 4. 9 minus 0 is 9. 8 minus 2 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. 3 minus 3 is 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. So these are all zeros. So we can just take those zeros away. Those are called leading zeros. You never have to write leading zeros unless there's a decimal to the left of them. But we haven't gotten into decimals yet. You don't have to worry about that now. So the final answer is 694. Now again, if you didn't rewrite the final answer and rectangle it, then you didn't do the problem correctly. You always have to rewrite the answer and rectangle it like so. All right. Let's go on to the next problem. All right, so you ready for this? This problem's going to be different. We're going on to something different here. You'll see what happens. Let's line up the numbers vertically, like usual. Put your line and your subtraction sign. Like usual, we start with the ones digits. 4 minus 1 is 3. Then we go to the tens digits and subtract them. But we have a problem. 2 minus 6. You can't subtract 6 from 2. That's what's different about this problem. So because we can't subtract 6 from 2, you have to do something called borrowing. Okay, we have to borrow from the 5, from this 5. All right? The 5 has plenty of numbers because we're going to subtract 3 from 5. So we can take a number from 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to cross out 5, and it becomes 4. Then we're going to take that 1 that we stole from 5, and we're going to put the 1 right next to the 2. So now, instead of the number being 2, it's now 12. So we took 1 from 5, but actually the number functions as a 10. That's just the way the algorithm works. So what we actually did is we took we only took 1 from 5, but because the 5 is in the hundreds place, we didn't actually take 1 from 5. We actually took 100 from 5. You don't really have to think about this again, but I'm just explaining why the algorithm works. The 5 is in the hundreds place, so if we change the 5 to a 4, we actually took 100 from 5, and we gave 100 to the 2. Now the 2 is in the tens place, so that's not actually a 2, that's a 20. So we took 100 from the 5, and we gave it to the 20, so it becomes 120. And this number here is not a 6, it's a 60. Again, you don't have to think about this when you do the actual problem. I'm just explaining how the algorithm works. So 120 minus 60 is 6. But you can just think of it as 12 minus 6. So that's why this algorithm works. You borrow 1 from this number, but you're actually borrowing whatever power of 10 that place just happens to be in. So if you're borrowing from the 2, you would actually be borrowing 10, not 1. But again, it's really not that. It's not necessary to memorize all that type of stuff now. Don't think about that stuff. All you have to know is you're borrowing 1 from 5, and it becomes 4, and then you take that 1 and you put it here, and now the 2 becomes 12. So 12 minus 6 is 6. And now it's 4. It's not 5. It's 4 minus 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. So that problem was quite different because we had to do something called borrowing. All right. So let's go on to the next problem. Again, line up the numbers vertically. All right, we start with the digits in the ones places. 5 minus 3 is 2. 6 minus 1 is 5. Uh-oh. Do you see this? 4 minus 9. You can't subtract 9 from 4. So we have to borrow. We're going to borrow from the 7. We're going to take 1 from the 7, so it becomes 6. And the 14, and we're going to give that 1 to the 4, so it becomes 14. Again, we're always adding 10 to this number. We're not actually adding 10. We're actually adding 1,000. But again, you don't have to think about that. You're always adding 10 to this number. I'm going to stop telling you about that algorithm because I don't want to confuse you. Again, you don't have to know the meaning behind the algorithm. So 14 minus 9 is 5. 6 minus 4 is 2. And count 3 places over, 2,552. Final answer is 2,552. And there you go. So is it good to know the meaning behind the algorithms? Of course it's good to know the meaning behind the algorithms, but most students, you're not really required to know the meaning behind the algorithms. 99.9999% of people in the school system, kids in the school system and people outside the school system don't know the meanings of the algorithms, and they don't care and they don't think about it. So you can go through the entire school system without thinking about the meanings behind these algorithms. I'm not saying you shouldn't learn the meanings if you want to. I'm just saying that you don't have to worry about it because nobody really goes over it much. People say that they do, but they don't. All right, 736 minus 254. Line up the numbers vertically. And pause the video and see what you can do with this problem, and then when you're done, we'll do it together. Remember, you're going to have to borrow, so be prepared for that. All right, we're back. Start with the numbers in the ones place. 6 minus 4 is 2. 3 minus 5, uh-oh, you can't do that. 3 minus 5 would be a negative number. We haven't learned negative numbers yet. So we have to borrow from the 7, it becomes a 6, then we have to give that 1 to 3, so it becomes 13. So 13 minus 5 is 8, and then we can go on to the next numbers. These numbers here. 6 minus 2 is 4. So final answer is 482. Right? If you got the right answer, pat yourself on the back. If you didn't get the right answer, that's fine. Let's do another one. Yeah, you'll have plenty of practice. All right, line up the numbers vertically. 56,258 minus 38,166. Pause the video. See what you can do. And when you're done, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. Start with the numbers in the ones digits. 8 minus 6 is 2. We've already got a problem here. 5 minus 6, we can't do that. So borrow from the 2, that becomes a 1. And then give that 1 to the 5, so it becomes 15. 15 minus 6 is 9. Then we go on to the next numbers, and it's not 2 minus 1 anymore. It's 1 minus 1 is 0. And then we can probably put our comma, I guess. And then, we have another problem. 6 minus 8, can't do that. Got to borrow from the 5, becomes 4. We took 1 from 5, so give that 1 to 6, and it becomes 16. 16 minus 8 is 8. And now it's not 5 minus 3, it's 4 minus 3. So it's 1. So the final solution is 18,092. If you got the right answer, good job. If you didn't get the right answer, that's fine. Just figure out what you did wrong. And by the way, if you got the wrong answer on any other problems, you should obviously figure out what went wrong. Don't just go on to the next problem. All right. What else can we do here? All right. Go ahead and attempt the next problem. Pause the video. And when you're done, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 434,615. 115,432. Subtract. Start with the digits in the ones place. 5 minus 2 is 3. 1 minus 3 we can't do. Borrow from the 6, it becomes 5. Give the 1 to 1. Give the 1 to the other one, so it becomes 11. 11 minus 3 is 8. 5 minus 4 is 1. 4 minus 5, you can't do it, so we got to borrow from the 3, it becomes 2. Give the 1 to 4. 14 minus 5 is 9. Now it's not 3 minus 1, it's 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. Final solution is 319,183. Rectangle the answer. So if you got the right answer, pat yourself on the back. If you didn't get the right answer, that's completely fine. Just go back and figure out what you did wrong. And again, you have to rectangle your answers. If you didn't rectangle your answer, you didn't do it right. All right, on to the next problem. $2,571 minus 1,643. I think something interesting is going to happen on this problem. So let's do this one together. 1 minus 3, we can't do that. So we have to borrow from the 7, it becomes a 6, and then we give that number we borrowed to the 1, so it becomes 11. 11 minus 3 is 8, and then 6 minus 4 is 2. I guess nothing really interesting is happening in this problem. 5 minus 6 we can't do, so we borrow from the 2, it becomes a 1. Give the 1 to the, give the number we borrowed to the 5, so it becomes 15. 15 minus 6 is, you know what, I should be writing these numbers smaller. Miniature little numbers there. 15 minus 6 is 9. And the only thing different about this problem is that 1 minus 1 is 0, but we don't write 0 because it's a leading 0. 0 is all the way to the left. We don't write. Have you ever heard of a number 0928? Is it possible to have 0928 candy bars? I don't think so. There's no such thing as 0928. So just write the 928. 928. All right. Now we'll go on to the next problem. Pause the video, see what you can do, and when you're done, we'll start up and do it together. All right, we're back. Line the numbers vertically. And start with the ones digits. 4 minus 8. Well, immediately we can't do that, so we have to borrow from the 6. It becomes a 5. Give the number to the 4, becomes 14. 14 minus 8 is 6. 5 minus 5 is 0. 7 minus 9 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 8. It becomes 7, and we give that number to the 7, because we borrowed 1 from 8, so we'll give the 1 to the 7. It becomes 17. I'll write that number a little smaller. 17 minus 9 is 8. And then there's no number here, so we just do 7 minus 0 is 7. Count 3 places over. Put your comma. The final answer is 7,806. All right. Pause the video, try the next problem, and when you're done, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. Line up the numbers vertically. Put your subtraction sign. Always put the subtraction sign. Start with the numbers in the ones digits. 4 minus 9. We can't do that, so we have to borrow from the 2. It becomes a 1. We give that 1 we borrowed from the 2 to the 4. It becomes 14. 14 minus 9 is 5. 1 minus 1 is 0. 5 minus 2 is 3. 1 minus 8 we can't do, so we borrow from the 3. It becomes a 2. Give that 1 we borrowed from the 3 to the 1, and it becomes an 11. 11 minus 9, 11 minus 8 is 3. And 2 minus 0 is 2. 3 minus 0 is 3. Again, these numbers you can just consider them to be 0, but don't write them. All right, final answer is 323,305. Now again, if you didn't rectangle your final answer, then you didn't do it correctly. Go back and go ahead and rectangle that answer. All right, the next problem. Pause the video, see what you can do, and then when you're done, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. Line up the numbers. Start with the numbers in the ones places. 7 minus 5 is 2. 0 minus 6, we can't do that. So we have to borrow from the 5, becomes a 4. Now we're going to give the 1 to the 0, so it becomes 10. Again, we took a 1 from the 5, so it became a 4. And that 1 that we took from the 5, we give to the 0, so it becomes a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. And 7 minus 5 is 2. 2,142. Rectangular final answer. All right. Just double checking my numbers there. All right, number 20. Go ahead and pause the video and try that problem now. Alright, if you did the problem correctly, you should have the numbers all lined up. Start with the numbers in the ones place values. 0 minus 5 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 2. Give that 1 to the 0, it becomes a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 1 minus 1 is 0. 6 minus 4 is 2. 0 minus 5 we can't do, borrow from the 9. It becomes 8. Give that number to the 0, it becomes 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 8 minus 7 is 1. Count 3 places over and put your comma. Final answer is 15,205. All right, on to the next problem. Go ahead and attempt this one. And when you're done, start the video and we'll do it together. All right, we're back. Line up the numbers vertically. Start with the numbers in the ones place values. 9 minus 8 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. 4 minus 5. We can't do that, so we're going to borrow from the 3. It becomes a 2. Give that number to the 4, so it becomes 14. 14 minus 5 is 9. And 2 minus 2 is 0. But have you ever heard of 0911 hot dogs? I haven't. So we don't need to write the 0. 911. All right. Let's try the next problem. I think the next problem might be, let's see here. Next problem might be a little different, so let's try this one together. Line up the numbers vertically. And again, the most important thing here is to line up the numbers. If you don't line up the place values correctly, you're not going to get the right answer. The ones digits have to be lined up. The tens digits, hundreds digits, and so on and so forth. All right, 2 minus 9 we can't do, so we've got to borrow from the 1. It becomes a 0. So we take that number we borrowed from the 1 and we give it to the 2, so it becomes 12. 12 minus 9 is 3. Now 0 minus 6, well, we can't do that. So we have to borrow from the 8, and it becomes 7. So now we give that number not to 1. This is what's different about this problem. We don't give it to 1, obviously, because that was already crossed out. We have to give it to the 0. So that becomes 10. Again, you're taking the 1. You're always borrowing the 1. Technically, it's not a 1. It's a 100, but you don't have to think about that. So we give it to the 0. Now we have 10 minus 6 is 4. 7 minus 5 is 2. Put your comma. 3 minus 4 we can't do, so we borrow from the 7. It becomes 6. So take that number and give it to 3. It becomes 13. 13 minus 4 is 9. 6 minus 2 is 4. So the final number is 49,243. All right. So again, the only difference between this problem and the other problems is that we gave a 1 to a number that we already borrowed from. So it's not really that big of a difference, but it is a slight difference. Let's do another one of those problems. 19,587 minus 8,699. Start with the numbers in the ones digits. 7 minus 9. Can't do that, so we have to borrow from the 8. That becomes 7. Give the 1 to the 7. It becomes 17. 17 minus 9 is 8. Now we have to do 7 minus 9, but we can't do that. So we got to borrow from the 5. The 5 becomes 4. Give the 1 to the, not to the 8, but to the 7, becomes 17. 17 minus 9 is 8. Now 4 minus 6, we can't do that. So we got to borrow from the 9, it becomes 8. And we give the 1 to the 4, becomes 14. Whenever you give a number to another number, just write it kind of small, just so we don't confuse it with the original numbers. That'll help you get things straight in your mind. 14 minus 6 is 8. And then we go on to the next numbers. 8 minus 8 is 0. And 1 minus nothing there, so it's just 0. 1 minus 0 will be 1. Final answer is 10,888. I'm going to go ahead and move that number over a little bit. All right. So now, you try one of those. Pause the video, see what you can do, and when you're done, we'll come back and do it together. All right, we're back. 365,312 minus 287,591. Subtract. Start with the ones digits. Just making sure I wrote that down correctly. All right, 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 minus 9 we can't do. Borrow from the 3 becomes a 2. Give the number to the 1, it becomes 11. 11 minus 9 is 2. 2 minus 5 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 5, it becomes a 4. Give to the 2, it becomes 12. 12 minus 5 is 7. Then we go on to 4 minus 7. We can't do 4 minus 7, so we have to borrow from the 6, it becomes 5. Give the number to 4, it becomes 14. 14 minus 7 is 7. 5 minus 8 we can't do, so we're having to borrow a lot in this problem. 5 minus 8 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 3, it becomes a 2. Give the number to the 5, so it becomes 15. 15 minus 8 is 7. 2 minus 2 is 0. But again, don't write the 0. We don't need that leading 0. We don't need it only because it's a leading 0. If the zeros were in the middle, like here, or here, or here, then we would need the 0. But because it's a leading 0, the number ends up being in the ten thousands place. 77,721. 77,721. All right, that's the final answer. Let's try number 25. Once you do 25 on your own, push pause, attempt the problem, and then when you're done, we'll see if you got it right. All right, we're back. Gonna line up the numbers vertically. $5,601,804 minus 21,791. I think I got that right. All right, start with the numbers in the ones digits. And the ones, start with the numbers in the ones place values. 4 minus 1 is 3. 0 minus 9 we can't do, so borrow from the 8, it becomes 7. Give the 1 to the 0, it becomes 10. 10 minus 9 is 1. 7 minus 7 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. Put your comma. You can probably put the comma at the very end, I guess. 0 minus 2 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 6, it becomes 5. Give the number to the 0, it becomes 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 5 minus nothing is 5. 5 minus nothing is 5. So then count 3 places over. 1, 2, 3. Put your comma. 1, 2, 3 again. Put your comma. Final solution, final answer is 5,580,013. And rectangle your final answer. Again, if you didn't rectangle your final answer, then you didn't do it correctly. I want to see in your homework, I want to see the original problem. Well, first of all, before we do anything, you got to write the problem number and circle it, right? Then you have to rewrite the problem. Then you have to show your work. Then you have to rewrite the answer and rectangle it. So 1, 2, 3, 4 things to think about for every problem. All right, let's go on to the next one. Number 26. Let's see here. Why don't you attempt this problem? Pause the video, and when you're done, we'll come back and do it together. All right, we're back. 432,790 minus 398,879. Put your subtraction sign like always. Start with subtracting the numbers in the ones digits. All right, 0 minus 9, we can't do that. We got to borrow from the 9, it becomes 8. Give that number to the 0, becomes 10. 10 minus 9 is 1. 8 minus 7 is 1. 7 minus 8 we can't do, so we borrow from the 2, it becomes a 1. Give the 1 to 7, becomes 17. 17 minus 8 is 9. 1 minus 8 we can't do, so you got to borrow from the 3, it becomes 2. Give the number to the 1, it becomes 11. 11 minus, make that number a little smaller. 11 minus 8 is 3. 2 minus 9 we can't do, so we borrow from the 4, it becomes 3. Give the number to the 2, it becomes 12. 12 minus 9 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. But that's leading 0. Never write leading zeros. Alright, so the final answer, put your comma, 33,911. Alright, on to the next problem. All right, so this next problem we're going to do has something that's different from all the other problems we've done so far. So we're going to do this one together. Let's line up the numbers. And by the way, if you got to number 26 and then you said, you know what, I think I know how to do this stuff. I think I'm okay. I think I'll just skip to the next class. You made a big mistake, because we're starting to do different variations of problems. This is a different variation. If you quit at number 26, that means you're going to miss a lot of stuff, and you won't know how to subtract numbers. If you do all the problems in this class and keep viewing the class until the very end, then I can promise you're going to learn arithmetic. But if you after finishing number 26, you go on to the next class, I can promise you won't learn arithmetic. All right? So be sure and watch the entire videos, because in this problem and other problems that we're going to do, there's something different that we haven't seen before. So let's line up the numbers vertically as usual. 6,301 minus 3,275. Put your subtraction sign in your line. And as usual, start with the ones digits. 1 minus 5 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 0. Wait a second. We can't borrow from a 0. That's what's different about these problems. We can't borrow from 0. So what are we going to do here? Well, we can't borrow from 0, so we have to borrow from 3. So let's borrow from 3. and it becomes a 2. And now we're going to give the 1 that we borrowed from the 3 to the 0, so it becomes 10. Now that the 0 is 10, we can borrow from it. So we can now, because again, we're trying to do 1 minus 5, right? We can't do 1 minus 5, so we're trying to borrow from the 0, but we can't, because it's 0. It's nothing. We can't borrow from nothing. But now, it's not nothing. It's 10. So now, we can borrow from the 10, and it becomes a 9. We took 1 from the 10, and it became 9, right? So now we can give that 1 that we borrowed from the 10 to the 1, so it becomes 11. And now we have 11 minus 5 is 6. All that stuff just to subtract 5 from the 1. All right, so now we go on to the next part. Now we have not 10 minus 7, but we have 9 minus 7. So 9 minus 7 is 2. Then we go on to the next part. We have not 3 minus 2, but we have 2 minus 2, right? Which is 0. And then 6 minus 3 is 3. So the difference with that problem is that we were trying to borrow from something that had nothing. We couldn't borrow from 0, right? So rewrite the solution and rectangle it. Now let's go on to another one. And this is going to be the same type of problem. Let's do this one together. Line up the numbers vertically. 4 minus 8 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 0. Well, we can't borrow from the 0. So we have to borrow from the 2, and it becomes 1. And then we give that 1 that we borrowed from the 2 to the 0, and it becomes 10. Well, now we can borrow from the 0, because it's not 0 anymore, it's 10. So we cross out the 10, and it becomes 9. And we give that number, because we took 1 from 10, we give that 1 to the 4, it becomes 14. 14 minus 8 we can now do. 14 minus 8 is 6. All right, then we go on to the next numbers. 9 minus 7 is 2, and 1 minus 0 is 1. Final answer is 126. All right, so now see if you can do a problem like that. Try number 29. And pause the video, and when you're done, push play, and we'll try it together. All right, we're back. 804,203 minus 50,155. Line up the numbers vertically. Start with the ones digits. 3 minus 5 we can't do, so we got to borrow from the 0. But we can't do that, so we have to borrow from the 2. Becomes a 1. Give the 1 to the 0, becomes 10. So now we can borrow from the 10, because again, we still haven't subtracted these numbers. We got to go all the way back to those numbers. So we got to borrow from the 10. We couldn't borrow from the 0, but now we can borrow from the 10. It becomes 9. We took 1 from the 10, and it became 9, and we'll give that 1 to the 3, and it becomes 13. 13, now we can subtract, you see. Now it's 13 minus 5. 13 minus 5 is 8. Right? And then we go on to the next numbers. 9 minus 5 is 4. 1 minus 1 is 0. 4 minus 0 is 4. Uh-oh. We have another problem here. Oh, that's no big deal. We can just borrow from the 8, becomes a 7. Give the 1 to the 0, becomes 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 7 minus 0 is 7. 754,048. 754,048. All right. So if you rectangled your answer, you did it correctly. If you didn't rectangle your answer, you got to get used to that eventually. Again, you got to show the problem number and circle it. You got to show the original problem. You got to do all your work. Then you got to rewrite the answer and rectangle it. You got to do that every single time because you're showing a record of your work. This is proof that you've actually taken this course. This is proof to everybody out in the world that may care that you're actually working in the academic world. All right, so now let's go on to the next problem. Try that problem on your own and pause the video and then come back and we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 705,306 minus 618,159. Start with the numbers in the ones digits. 6 minus 9 we can't do. So we have to borrow from the 0. We can't borrow from the 0, so we have to borrow from the 3. It becomes 2. Give the 1 to the 10, or give the 1 to the 0. It becomes 10. Now we can borrow from the 0 because it's not 0 anymore. It's 10. So cross out the 10. It becomes 9. Give the 1 that we borrowed from the 10 to the 6. It becomes 16. 16 minus 9 is 7. 9 minus 5. We can go on to the next numbers now. 9 minus 5 is 4. 2 minus 1 is 1. 5 minus 8 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 0. We can't borrow from the 0 because you can't borrow from nothing, so we have to borrow from the 7. Sorry about that. 7 becomes 6. We give that 1 to the 10 to the 0. It becomes 10. Now we can borrow from the 10. It becomes 9. Give that 1 to the 5. It becomes 15. 15 minus 8 is 7. 9 minus 1 is 8. And 6 minus 6 is 0. Don't write the 0 because it's a leading 0. All right, 87,147 is the final answer. If you got the right answer, pat yourself on the back. If you didn't get the right answer, that's okay. Just go back and figure out what you did wrong. All right, now number 31, we're going to have to do that one together because this is a different problem. Now, if you stopped at number 30 and you said, you know what, I think I've got this now, then you made a big mistake because now we're going on to another type of problem, another variation. And if you stopped at 30 and decided to go on to the next course, you really missed something. You're going to find out what all the other kids missed that actually decided to do that right now. All right, so line up the numbers vertically. $8,006 minus 3,147. So start with the numbers in the ones places. 6 minus 7 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 0. We can't borrow from the 0. We can't borrow from this 0. Because you can't borrow from nothing. So now we have to go to the next 0. But we can't borrow from that 0 either because 0 again is nothing. So we have to go all the way over to the 8 and borrow from it. Then we give that 1. Wait a second here. I have to get rid of that highlight. There we go. So we have to borrow from the 8 and it becomes 7, and then we give that 1 to the 0 and it becomes 10. Then we borrow from the 10 and it becomes 9, and we give that, so we borrowed 1 from the 10, right? So we give that 1 to this 0 and it becomes 10. And then we borrow from that 10 and it becomes 9. And we give the 1 we borrow from the 10 to the 6, it becomes 16. So that's quite a lot of stuff to remember there. So now we can subtract 6 from 7 because it's not 6 anymore, it's 16. 16 minus 7 is 9. 9 minus 4 is 5. 9 minus 1 is 8. 7 minus 3 is 4. Put your comma. Final answer, 4,859. All right, let's try another one of those. $1,520,000, $1,520,000, 16. minus 207,341. All right, 6 minus 1, we can do that. That's 5. 1 minus 4, we can't do that. So we got to borrow from the 0. We can't borrow from the 0 because it's nothing. So we have to go to the next number. But oh, the next number is another 0. So we can't borrow from that. So we got to go all the way over to the 2 and borrow from it. And it becomes 1. Then we give that 1 to this 0 and we give that 1 to the 0 next to it and it becomes 10. And then we have to borrow. But again, we're trying to get all the way back to the 1 and the 4 here. We tried to borrow from this 0, we couldn't do it. We tried to borrow from this 0, we couldn't do it, so we had to borrow from the 2. And now we're backtracking. So now we can borrow. Now we can borrow from the 0 because it's not 0 anymore. It's 10. So we can cross out the 10, it becomes 9. Give it to the 0, to the other 0, becomes 10. And we're trying to borrow from this 10 to give to the 1, so we can borrow from the 10, it becomes 9. Give that 1 that we borrowed from the 10 to the 1, it becomes 11. And now 11 minus 4 is 7. And now we can continue with the problem. 9 minus 3 is 6. 9 minus 7 is 2. 1 minus 0 is 1. 5 minus 2 is 3. And 1 minus nothing is 1. Count 3 places over, put your comma. 3 places over, put your comma. So the final answer is 1,312,675. 1,312,675. All right. Now you try one of these problems. You're going to have to borrow from a 0, but you can't borrow from a 0, so you're going to have to go to the next number, and the next number is going to be a 0 also, and you're just going to keep going. In fact, you know what? We should probably do this problem together, because there's quite a lot of zeros we're going to have to borrow from. 700,000 minus 321,816. Let me go back here. We did all those problems, right? Yeah. So now we've got another situation. You can try this one on your own, but there's going to be a lot of borrowing. In the previous problems, we only had 2 zeros next to each other. But now we have 5 zeros next to each other, so we're going to have to do a lot of borrowing. But it's no big deal. 0, we'll start with the numbers in the ones places. 0 minus 6, we can't do it. So we've got to borrow from the other 0. We're going to borrow from this 0, but we can't do it because that's a 0. So we've got to borrow from this 0. We can't do it. I should probably be highlighting just the zeros. So we got to borrow from this 0. We can't do it. So we got to borrow from this 0. We can't do it. So we got to borrow from this 0. We can't do it. So we got to go all the way to the 7. So we got to borrow from the 7. The 7 becomes 6. Then we give the number to this 0 here, and it becomes 10. Then we can borrow from the 10, it becomes 9. We give the number to this 0, it becomes 10. We borrow from that 10, it becomes 9. We give that number to this 0, it becomes 10. Borrow from the 10, it becomes 9. Give that number, and so on and so forth. And then finally, at the very end, we borrowed from 1 from this 10. It became 9, and we gave that 1 that we borrowed. Or we're giving that 1 we borrowed to this 0, it becomes 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. We're ready to knock out the problem now. 9 minus 1 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. 9 minus 1 is 8. 9 minus 2 is 7. 6 minus 3 is 3. 378,184. 378. I'm trying to stay in the margins here. 378,184. Right. Now you try the next problem. See what you can do. Pause the video, and when you come back, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 52,000 minus 192. Line up the numbers vertically and start with the numbers in the ones digits. 0 minus 2. We can't do it, so we got to borrow from the other 0. We can't do that because it's 0, so we have to borrow from the other 0. We can't do that, so we have to go all the way to the 2. All right. Borrow from the 2, it becomes 1. Give that 1 to the 10, it becomes 10. Borrow from the 10, it becomes 9. Give that number to the 1, it becomes 10. Borrow from that 10, it becomes 9. Give that number to the 0, it becomes 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 9 minus 9 is 0. 9 minus 1 is 8. 1 minus 0 is 1. 5 minus nothing is 5. Nothing, 0, same thing. Count 3 places over, that's your comma. The final answer is 51. By the way, normally you would put the final answer down here, but it gets kind of, I guess I didn't give you enough room on these problems. 51,808. Rectangle the answer. There you go. All right, so now you do the next problem. The difference between this problem and the other problems is that the last number, when you borrow from the 1, it's going to become 0. But other than that, everything is pretty much the same. So pause the video, do the problem, and then when you're done, we'll see if you got the right answer. All right, we're back. 1 million minus 567,119. 0 minus 9 we can't do, so we got to borrow from the 0. We can't borrow, blah, 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 all the way to the 1. And we got to borrow from the 1, and it becomes 0. Then this number becomes 10, and we have to borrow. At this point, you don't really have to keep writing all that stuff. You can just put, for your own sake, you can just put 9. 9, 9, 9, 9, but the last number becomes 10. So that's perfectly fine. Anybody reading your work is going to understand that that those numbers become 9. You don't have to write every single slash on the zeros or the tens. So now at this point, we're back to the ones digits. 10 minus 9 is 1. 9 minus 1 is 8. 9 minus 1 is 8. 9 minus 7 is 2. 9 minus 6 is 3. 9 minus 5 is 4. And 0 minus nothing is nothing. So the final answer is 432,881. Again, it seems a little cramped in there, so let's go ahead and move this over. I'm going to put it up here. I don't want to go out of the margins, but I got no choice. All right. On to the next problem. So as you can see, there's a lot of variations of these problems. Today's class, I guess, is going to be a longer than normal class. I'm not sure how much time has gone by, but sometimes these classes might go for an hour and a half, so that's just the way it is. When you get into the next courses, you're going to have 2 hours per class. 2 hours per class, twice a week. So this class is going to be about an hour and a half for each class, and or an hour to an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most. And when you get into the next courses, they're going to be 2 hours per class, twice a week. let's see here. So let's line up this number. Not really sure what's going to happen with this number. I think we're getting close to our word problems, yeah. So pause the video on this problem. This is the last normal problem. Then the last problems are going to be word problems. So attempt this problem, pause the video, see what you can do, and we'll start up again together. All right, we're back. Let's write the number. Line everything up vertically. This is a big number, or a big difference. All right. 5,302,407 minus 3,819,568. All right, I think that's written right. 7 minus 8 we can't do, so we got to borrow from the 0. We can't borrow from the 0, so we got to borrow from the 4. It becomes 3. We give that number to the 0, it becomes 10. Now we can borrow from the 10, it becomes 9. And we can give that 1 that we borrow from the 10 to the 7, and it becomes 17. 17 minus 8 is 9. 9 minus 6 is 3. 3 minus 5 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 2. It becomes a 1. We give that 1 that we borrow from the 2 to the 3. It becomes a 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. 1 minus 9 we can't do, so we have to borrow from this 0. We can't borrow from the 0 because it's 0. So we have to borrow from the 3. It becomes 2. Then we give the 1 that we borrow from the 3 to the 0. It becomes 10. Now that it's 10, we can borrow, and it becomes 9. And we give that 1 that we borrow from the 10 to the 1, and it becomes 11. 11 minus 9 is 2. And now we can go on to the next numbers. 9 minus 1 is 8. 2 minus 8 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 5. It becomes 4. We give that number we borrow from the 5 to the 2. It becomes 12. 12 minus 8 is 4. And 4 minus 3 is 1. That was a big one. So final solution is 1,482,839. Rectangle the final answer. And if you got the right answer, pat yourself on the back. If you didn't, that's okay. Just go back and see what you did wrong. Oh, wait a second. We do have one more problem. So pause the video, attempt this problem. One more problem before the word problems. We still have word problems to do. So attempt this, pause the video, attempt this problem. When you're done, we'll do it together and see if you got the right answer. All right, we're back. Let's write the problem, line the numbers up vertically. Now we have 63,604,504 minus 2,728,749. By the way, it helps you to recite these numbers so you can get used to reading the numbers. Remember, we only learned how to read the numbers in the second class of this course. Alright, so we got our numbers written down. Double check to see that your numbers are right. Now remember, if you make a mistake writing the numbers down, then obviously we're not going to get the right answer. So you got to be sure that you write them down correctly, and be sure that you line up all the numbers. The ones digits, they have to be lined up. The twos, the tens digits, so on and so forth. Alright, now we're ready to go. 4 minus 9 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 0. We can't borrow from the 0, so we have to borrow from the 5. It becomes 4. So we give the 1 to the 0, it becomes 10. Then we borrow from the 10, it becomes 9. We give it that 1 to the 4, it becomes 14. 14 minus 9 is 5. 9 minus 4 is 5. 4 minus 7 we can't do, so we borrow from the 4, it becomes 3. We give that 1 to the 4, it becomes 14. 14 minus 7 is 7. 3 minus 8 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 0. We can't borrow from the 0, so we have to borrow from the 6. It becomes 5. We give that 1 to the 0, it becomes 10. Then borrow from the 10, it becomes 9. The 3, we give the 1 to the 3, it becomes 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. 9 minus 2 is 7. 5 minus 7 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 3, it becomes 2. We give the 1 to the 5, it becomes 15. 15 minus 7 is 8. 2 minus 2 is 0. 6 minus 0 is 6. 60,875,755. 60,875,755. 755. I'm going to move that subtraction sign over a little bit. Remember, you always got to be orderly. Teachers just love to take off points when you're not orderly. That's the way teachers are in the academic world. They make you write a record of everything. I'm not saying I agree with their attitude about it, about making you do all this stuff, but you know, in the academic system, the teachers are the boss, I guess. So you got to do whatever they want. All right. Let's see. Let me check that number on the calculator just to be sure we did that right. Just want to double check. $60 million. Yeah, that's right. All right, now we go on to the word problems. Remember, you always have to do word problems. Students typically don't like the word problems very much, especially when it's talking about cheetahs and rhinoceroses, like the next problem. There's nothing wrong with cheetahs and rhinoceroses, but normally, unless the problem actually applies to your life, most students don't really care about it. But anyway, we got to do these word problems. Word problems are a must for pretty much any course. So let's read the problem first. Larry the cheetah runs 68 miles per hour. That means he runs 68 miles in 1 hour. And he runs 2 times 68 miles in 2 hours, and so on and so forth. We haven't learned multiplication yet, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Albert the rhinoceros runs 23 miles per hour. So the cheetah runs 68 miles per hour, and the rhinoceros runs 23 miles per hour. How many miles per hour faster does Larry run than Albert? All right, so for example, in 1 hour, the cheetah runs 68 miles, and in the same 1 hour, the rhinoceros runs 23 miles. So how many more miles did the cheetah run than the rhinoceros? That's basically what it's asking. So this is a subtraction problem. You line up the numbers, 68 and 23. Remember to line up the numbers in the ones digits and the numbers in the tens digits, as always. If you don't line up the numbers correctly, you're not going to get the right answer. So start with the numbers in the ones place values. 8 minus 3 is 5. 6 minus 2 is 4. So the cheetah runs 45 miles per hour faster than the rhinoceros. If you write 45, that's incorrect. It's not 45. It's 45 miles per hour. 45 miles. Now we can just abbreviate that as MPH. Rectangle your answer. And you got to rectangle the entire thing, not just the 45. The MPH is part of your answer. All right, so now we move on to 39. Dan bought 20,053 shares of stock. He then sold 8,074 of those shares. How many shares does he have left? All right, why don't you go ahead and pause the video and attempt this problem, and then when you're done, we'll work it together and see if you got the correct answer. All right, we're back. Go and line up the numbers. By the way, this is obviously a subtraction problem because he has 20,053 shares, but he sells 8,074, so you're taking away, you're subtracting. So 20,053 minus 8,074. 74. 3 minus 4 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 5. It becomes a 4. We give the 1 to the 3. It becomes 13. 13 minus 4 is 9. And 4 minus 7 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 0. We can't borrow from 0, so we got to go to the... We can't borrow from this 0, so we got to go to the next 0. But we can't borrow from that 0 because it's 0. So we have to go all the way over to the 2 and borrow from the 2. 2 becomes 1. We give the 1 that we took from the 2 to the 10, or to the 0, it becomes 10. Then we borrow from that 10, it becomes 9. We give the 1 to this 0, it becomes 10. Then we borrow from that, it becomes 9. We give that number we borrow from the 10 to the 4, it becomes 14. 14 minus 7 is 7. 9 minus 0 is 9. 9 minus 8 is 1. And 1 minus 0, it's not 2 minus 0, it's 1 minus 0 is 1. Put your comma. Final answer is 11,979. So if you wrote 11,979, you got two problems. One problem is we didn't rectangle it yet. But the other problem is we haven't said what we're counting. It's 11,979 what? Is it motorcycles? Is it t-shirts? Is it what are we calculating here? Well, we're calculating shares. We're calculating numbers of shares. So 11,979 shares. We could say shares of stock, but shares is probably good enough for now, for this problem. All right. So it looks like we have 3 more problems. I know this class was a little bit longer than the other classes. Number 40, we're almost done. All right, but before I continue, I want to say that in this course, the result that you get when you subtract two numbers, it's often called the difference. So I guess we'll do a difference problem at the very end. I'll worry about that later. All right, number 40, Kathy has 3,007, and Mark has 2,599. What is the difference between their savings? Actually, this is a difference problem, so we do have difference on this. So when it says what is the difference between their savings, it means if you subtract those two numbers, what do you get? Also remember that with addition, we said on the first problems, with addition, it doesn't matter what order you add up the numbers. 5 plus 2 is the same thing as 2 plus 5. But with subtraction, it does matter. 5 minus 2 is not the same thing as 2 minus 5, because 2 minus 5 will give you a negative number. So they want the difference. So it's like if I have $3,007 and you have $2,599, what's the difference? So obviously it's subtraction. All right, so line up the numbers vertically and pause the video and attempt this problem, and then when you're done, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. Let me write the problem. All right, hopefully you lined up the numbers. Start with the ones digits. 7 minus 9 we can't do. Borrow from the 0 we can't do. Borrow from the other 0 we can't do, so we got to borrow from the 3. Becomes 2, give the 1 to that, to the 0, it becomes 10. Borrow from the 10, it becomes 9. Give the 1 to the 0, it becomes 10. Borrow from the 10, it becomes 9. Give the 1 to the 7, it becomes 17. 17 minus 9 is 8. 9 minus 9 is 0. 9 minus 4 is 4. 2 minus 0 is a 0, so our final answer is 408. But 408 what? What are we counting? go back to the problem and read it and figure out what we're counting. We're counting dollars, so it's $408. Kathy has, or the difference between their savings is $408. All right, on to the next problem. Let's read it together and then you can attempt it yourself. A list of numbers is called a data set. This is called a data set. It's just a list of numbers. See the commas between the numbers? The following data set represents the number of cents in each of four children. The following data set represents the number of cents each of four children has in his pocket. So 4 children have cents in their pocket. They might have, 25 cents, 50 cents, whatever. But in this case, one child has 415 cents, another has 89 cents, another has 42 cents, so on and so forth. So we're counting in cents, we're not counting in dollars. All right. The range of a data set is the difference between the highest and lowest numbers. What is the range of the data set above? So when they say the difference, they mean you take the lowest number and the biggest number and you subtract the two, and that's the range of the data set. So what is the highest number? Well, you got to figure out that yourself. Pause the video, and then when you attempt the problem, and then when you're done, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. So we need to find the smallest number and the biggest number and subtract them. That's the definition of the range. So the biggest number is 415 and the smallest number is 42. So we're going to subtract the smallest number from the biggest number. We can't subtract 415 from 42 because then we get a negative number. So take the biggest number, 415, and we'll subtract the smallest number, 42. Line up the numbers vertically. And 5 minus 2 is 3. 1 minus 4 we can't do. Borrow from the 4 becomes a 3. Give the 1 to the 1 and it becomes 11. 11 minus 4 is 7. 3 minus 0 is 3. So the range of the data set is 373. All right. Last problem. Don walked on a straight path 502 feet from his office to an ice cream truck. He then walked 273 feet towards his office on the same path. So in other words, he's reversing his direction. He went to his office. He started at his office and he went to the ice cream truck. Then he's turning around and going the exact opposite direction. So he started at his office, went 502 feet to the ice cream truck, turned around, went the exact opposite direction, 273 feet. And he's all walking on a straight path. So how far is he from his office now? All right, so let's say that this is his, well, you can attempt this problem yourself, pause the video, and see what you can do. And if you get stuck, we can do it together. So attempt the problem, and when you're done, we'll do it together and see if you got it right. All right, we're back. So let's say that his office is here. Big old office building, right? Windows. You don't need to draw the picture, but so he starts from here. We'll say X marks the spot, and he goes to the. I shouldn't be wasting time drawing pictures here, but you get the point. So he starts from his office and he goes to the ice cream truck, and that doesn't even look like an ice cream truck, but whatever. And that's 502 feet. Okay, then from the ice cream truck, he goes in the exact reverse direction. He goes 273 feet. So what this problem is asking is, what is this distance? You might call that x. In algebra, if we don't know a number, we use a letter to notate the number. We call it x. Or we might call it y, or z, or a, or b, or c, or something like that. So obviously you can see that this is a subtraction problem. You're taking the 502, which is this length, and you're subtracting the 273, which is this length, and that gives you the length we're looking for. The distance of his position, because at this point he's here, right? X marks the spot. We want to know the distance from where he is here to his office. That's the green. All right? So 502 minus 273, line up the numbers. Line up the ones digits and the tens digits, so on and so forth. 2 minus 3, we can't do that, so we have to borrow from the 0. We can't borrow from the 0, so we have to borrow from the 5. It becomes 4. We give the 1 we borrow from the 5 to the 0, it becomes 10. Then we borrow from the 10, it becomes 9. We give the 1 we borrow from the 10 to the 2, it becomes 12. 12 minus 3 is 9. 9 minus 7 is 2, and 4 minus 2 is 2. So our final answer is 229. And we can just rectangle 229 and we're done, right? Wrong. It's a word problem. What are we counting? We're counting feet. So 220 feet. Excuse me, 229 feet. And we can notate feet by FT. Rectangle your final answer. So if you got 229 feet, you did good. If you didn't get that answer, then that's okay. You'll have plenty of practice problems to do for the homework. Alright, so that's the end of class 4. So here's the homework. Go ahead and take a screenshot. Take a screenshot of that page and a screenshot of this page. So again, I give you all the answers. And the reason I do that is because I expect you to check the answers to make sure you did it correctly. If you don't check the answers, then you're just wasting your time doing the homework. You might as well not do it at all. The purpose of, people say that practice makes perfect, but that's really not correct. You can practice all you want, but if you don't practice correctly, then you're just wasting your time. So that's the purpose of the answers. That's why I give all the answers in this column. And, again, some kids would say, well, that's cheating. That's cheating, having the answers. But, again, you can cheat all you want. You can write the answer, but if you don't show your work, then you didn't do anything. And you can't prove to anybody else that you did anything. So check all your answers. And as always, write the title. The title of the homework. You should write class 4 homework, subtracting whole numbers, and write your name, just as I did here, the name, the date, and the course number. And if you're wondering why you want to put the name, again, if you lose your paper, it just shows people who will potentially read the paper, whose paper it is, the date. Was this 1902 that was written, or was it 2017? So they don't know. But if you write the date, that gives them the information, and the course number, they want to know what course it is. That's just the vital information. And you want to write the problem numbers and circle the problem numbers. A lot of students will just write the problem number and they won't circle it. If you don't circle the problem number, as I explained in class number 1, then it makes it difficult to tell the difference between the problems that you're doing in the calculation and the problem numbers. It just makes it difficult for people to read your homework, and it makes it difficult for you to read the homework. So circle the problem number, write the original problem, then write the show your work. And a lot of students like to take the original problem and then mess up the original problem to try to show their work. Don't do that, as I explained in class 1. Show your work and then rewrite the final answer, rectangle the final answer. If you don't do all those things, then you're not doing the homework correctly. Also, you need to order your homework in your binder. Class 1 should be on the first page, class 2 on the second page, class 3 on the third page, so on and so forth. So that's about it for class number 4. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next section, or the next class.